Fellow developers, writers, and everyone who loves game design.
Welcome to DLC Not Included, our weekly podcast where we discuss game development, the industry, and everything in between.
We're your hosts, Steele
and Teal. Glad you could join us.
So this is our third episode of the revival of DLC Not Included, and for those who are watching us live for the first time, we won't be monitoring chat. We are doing a podcast. You all then can ask us questions at the question time by using your channel points.
Yes.
It'll show up on the big monitor here and we'll answer them.
It's only 50.
Which means 15 minutes of watching. So if you're watching us live, thank you. If you're watching us later, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, thank you as well.
Yes.
So we want to start this particular topic, which is children and modern gaming, with a huge red disclaimer.
Yes. We are not going to tell anyone how to raise your children. Absolutely not.
Right. The purpose of this podcast is to raise awareness of what modern gaming and children and how they do and don't mix.
Right. This is an informational podcast only. It's especially aimed at you parents, aunts and uncles, cousins, anybody that has children in your life and children who are into video gaming, which is probably most everybody.
Most everybody. Yeah, both Teal and ours sisters have 2 children each, and all of them are into some form of video games.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some more than others.
So we kind of put this podcast together with the idea that what is it nowadays? How is it different between now and like the 80s when it was like Pac-Man and Space Invaders?
Right. Well, first of all, talking about this worldview that we have, since we're based in the U.S., our view is going to be heavily slanted
Very heavily
to the U.S., okay? Because I just don't have any experience in other countries, so I cannot speak for how things are over there.
Now, the research that we did is on places like Harvard, the AACAP, which is the American Association of Child Psychology something. I'm going to get the acronym wrong. But we can base this a lot in other countries because children are children everywhere.
Yes, they are. So,
and let's go ahead and let's just address child psychology in general.
Okay.
It is being treated as a constantly growing field.
Well, it is. It takes a while to do research and to track these things. And, studies take a while.
Exactly. And children are treated now differently for whatever than they were back in the day. If I can go ahead and hit the way back machine, back when I was a child, any behavioral problems and you were given Ritalin.
Yep.
You're automatically ADHD and Ritalin. And now we're learning that there's more into a child's behavior than just that.
There's like we said, there's a whole growing study on all this. There's so much more we know now than we did then. So
people are treating it differently even today than they were 5 years ago. All of this is important. We have to give you this background that the understanding of the developing brain of a child is a developing field.
Yes, it is.
And how things influence it, we're talking things like environment, parental involvement, the community itself, peer pressure, school environments. There's so many different aspects.
Yeah, there is.
That mold a child's psychological development.
There's so many influencers on children, and they're able to get to them now more than ever because of social media.
And social media is the ultimate community of the internets.
Yeah.
But then let's talk about video games, the technology. It's still relatively new. We talked about in one of our older podcasts and in many of our creator classrooms and AMAs how video games have been around since like the 60s. But the reality is, let's talk about video games as an entertainment medium.
Right.
Especially what is considered modern gaming. That's very new.
It's pretty recent.
We're talking in the last 2 decades, with the PS3 coming out and Call of Duty becoming a regular thing. And, it moved beyond just Super Mario Brothers.
Right.
And modern gaming now is so new, they haven't been able, they being scientists, psychologists, the scientific community in general, hasn't really had a chance to comprehensively examine it like we've had a chance to examine so many other things.
That's right. 20 years, you're talking about just, if you had started at the very beginning, you'd have just 1, maybe 2 cohorts that you've been able to study. Well, that hasn't really happened. So we do have a developing, burgeoning field in it.
We do. And not only that, but the understanding of the field is growing exponentially slower than the field itself. Look at games 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
How much have they changed in just 5 years? How much have they changed in 10 years? And let's talk about that AACAP, that American Association of Child Psychologists. The last time they did a full study was sometime around 2015, according to the research I did online.
Okay. That was quite a while ago. 5 years is actually a long time.
And Harvard University, which also did a study, rather comprehensive study, on the effects of video games on children, that was 2010.
Wow, that's even longer ago.
However, to those two places, that's probably okay that it's been 5 years and 10 years. But for an emergent field with this much of a accelerated growth,
it
is more of an issue.
And this much of an impact. Yeah.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to what I believe to be one of the major problems with looking at this field the way it currently is looked at.
Okay.
Video games, and this is all the research I've done in the years we've spent together working on Studio Blue stuff. Most video games are treated by the general populace no different than movies.
Boy, this is true. When you talk about what are you going to do tonight? Oh, I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to play a video game. I'm going to, talk to my friends online. It's all kind of lumped together and entertainment. Right.
But this is a huge problem, and here's why. And this is where a lot of people need to change their paradigm. Movies, television, that's passive. You're just sitting there absorbing whatever is happening. You're absorbing Freddy Krueger stalking the teenagers. You're absorbing, the anime characters engaged in larger-than-life battles.
Right.
You are the observer only. Video games are active.
You're actually a participant. You're in there. You're influencing the world. You're making decisions and impacting the game.
Right. And in those moments, so let's go back to a horror movie.
Okay, sure.
Okay, in the horror movies, you are watching the survivors attempt to get away from the killer, for example.
Right. And you're either rooting for the survivors or rooting for the killer.
Exactly. While in video games, you're either actively a survivor or the killer.
Right.
Or anywhere in between. I mean, look at the gray area heroes in games like Resident Evil, where, they're killing, sometimes villagers. Like a great one is Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that's
Leon
a good
Kennedy.
one.
Yes, there are people in that village who are just batshit crazy, but he's killing them. So you're murdering at that point, even though you can, at that point, say it's survival. Let's take it a step further. Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah, Call of Duty. Yeah.
You're a soldier killing other soldiers. You can still say, well, this is war. I'm following, my commanding officer, my CO, but you're still killing. So let's go a step further. GTA.
Oh, GTA.
You just straight up killing at that point.
Yeah.
So the whole point of that is, while movies are passive, video games are active. Anyone who plays it, whether it be a full-grown adult or a little kid, they're actively participating in the events that are there instead of just watching them.
Right.
And that would be okay if it wasn't for the fact that this range of adult themes that can happen in video games. It's not like, here's adult video games that have bad stuff.
Yeah.
And here's kiddie video games that have Legos.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes all over the spectrum. I mean, any video game at any range can have graphic violence.
Or graphic sexual scenes or bad language.
Exploitation, primarily of women. That's a different issue.
But that's so rampant.
That is it. Yeah, but that's something we will discuss another day. Discrimination all across the board.
Oh, yeah.
So all of these things that we probably should not, I say sarcastically, give children, exposure to, are there.
It's there.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
It's all there.
Yeah. Now, there are kind of supposed to be holds on this, measures to stop children from doing stuff they shouldn't do. I'm specifically talking about the Electronic Software Ratings Board.
That.
ESRB, right?
Ah, yes, that.
Yeah, the thing we're always making fun of.
Because they have absolutely no bite.
None whatsoever. They are literally as good at warding off children as the Motion Picture Association is for movies. Because, let's face it, Teal, how many times did you sneak into an R-rated movie as a kid?
I'm not going to say.
Right?
But we all did it.
So just slapping an R-rated label on a movie is not going to stop either kids from watching the movie or what have you.
They'll find a way. Trust me, they'll find a way. The ubiquitous friend's house. Oh, yeah.
So slapping him on a game is not just going to stop.
Yeah, it's not going to stop
children from playing, Murder Central. And again,
the Pimstitute.
Exactly, the Pimstitute. Going back to that really large disclaimer, we're not telling people how to raise their children.
Absolutely not.
We're just raising awareness.
All we're doing is just, as Steele said, raising awareness.
Yeah. So when you have a very ineffective ESRB, and you have games that can have adult themes literally sprinkled anywhere. There are some games that have something called cartoon violence now. And cartoon violence is very violent, but in an animated way. We're talking like, oversized cartoon mallets slam persons a pancake. Right. That's still violence, but now they call it cartoon violence. They're in a way that's kind of an awareness of how the zeitgeist of what is and is not considered violent changes. That's true. But it's still violence. Yeah, it is. And, you can sugarcoat it as much as you want. Smashing someone into a pancake is still a violent act. Does a child need to be exposed to that? That's beyond the purview of this podcast. Right. However, we talked about that. We talked about sexuality, discrimination, exploitation, foul language. And this leads into another state of things that we need to discuss. Way more research is put into the negative aspects of video games on children than the positive. I could attest to that. I've not seen a single positive study on that. Right. It's like you'll essentially every now and then, it helps with hand-eye coordination. It helps with logical skills. But most of the time it's too violent. If a tragic event occurs here in the States or elsewhere, and they find out that the perpetrator of that tragic event played GTA, automatically all the negative aspects are talked about. Yeah. Video games are bad. Then there's the whole video games will rot your brain. Yeah, that one, yeah. Because it doesn't stimulate at all, which is patently not true. It's not true, really. Anything that requires you to do something with your brain can be work for your brain. Yeah. However, again, that's beyond the purview of this podcast as to how video games are beneficial. The fact is that it's not all negative. No, it's not. But we as a society are inundated with the negativity over and over again. Nonstop. And because of that, there's really two potential outcomes. This is not exclusive, but the two most potential outcomes that I've always seen and that research has shown happens again and again and again is because parents start becoming draconian to the video games. That's if they're aware of them, yeah. Right. Let's just say that, my children will never play a single video game. That's what they can play Barbie and Lego Man, and that's all they get. Yeah, and let me tell you, that doesn't work. Nope. Your kid is going to go to their friend's house. As I said, the ubiquitous friend's house. I did it. I know Steele did it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you can't get it at home, you're going to get it elsewhere. That's right. Because somebody's going to have it. Someone's going to have it. It breeds resentment from the kids. Ooh, yeah. Billy's dad lets him play The Legend of Zelda. Why can't I play Breath of the Wild? And, just kind of pointing this out, you're starting to have your kid hide things from you. Not good, because if they're hiding that behavior, they're going to hide other things, and then here we go into going down that rabbit hole of a discussion. Right. Yeah. Well, it is an issue. It's like, you're going over to Billy's house to study. Yes, Dad. Wink, wink. And then you go over there and you're playing Grand Theft Auto Online. Right. Something like that. Because you're hiding it. You learn to hide things from your parents. And then there's also a social stigma. Ooh. Oh, Jimmy's not on the cool club because his parents won't get him the Xbox with Call of Duty, Black Ops, Ninja Zero. Right. That's a huge thing. Okay, peer pressure is horrible, especially when you're in middle school. Ooh. You talk about high school. Well, let me tell you about middle school. Holy crap, I've read books on the middle school experience. 100%. And I know I've talked about it elsewhere, but it is insane, the pressure that children face in middle school. And y'all have all read the news story about the poor boy who was bullied because he didn't have this particular Fortnite skin on his character or whatever it is, because I don't play Fortnite, so I have no idea. But, it's real. Oh, you don't even have Fortnite?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's free to play. What's wrong with you? Oh, your parents. Do your parents let you do this? I bet you your parents don't even let you watch TV. I mean, it gets ugly.
Oh, yeah.
It gets ugly. So there's that draconian possibility.
Yeah.
Then there's the other side, literally the pendulum swinging in the other direction. The parents develop a massively lackadaisical attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lackadaisical as in let's have discussions and talk about what you want to play, but literally, whatever, Jimmy, go play whatever. Shut the fuck up, Jimmy. Just go play that.
Yeah.
It's the whole episode. I watched horror movies when I grow up and nothing bad happened to me.
Right.
With the parent not having the education, not understanding what this could or could not do to their children and just not caring. Let the children do whatever, play whatever. And, again, we are not trying to tell people how to raise their children, but that is the other side of the fence from draconian.
Well, yeah. And to be fair, and let's be fair here, parents are busier than ever. There's a lot of demands on your time and attention.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if you're working from home, you don't want all the distractions, the screaming, the arguing. So you're like, just go in the other room, play, do something. Leave me alone for 30 minutes, please. And please, let me tell you, it's not the parents' fault. We're not pointing fingers.
No, not at all.
No.
It is not. However, they say shit rolls downhill. Yeah. And when a situation hits someone who's in charge of other people, the people who they are in charge of are affected. It is just the way reality works.
It is, yeah.
So if you have this lackadaisical, this other side of the pendulum swing attitude, then the kids could be playing stuff that maybe they shouldn't play. Again, not dictating what kids should not do, but you got to watch that. Now, there are middle grounds. I have seen parents, in fact, we are very good friends with one of my writer friends. I think you know who she is.
Yeah.
With the child. And she always talks to him.
Yes.
Like if he wants to play a game, she'll sit down and she'll talk to him and she'll say, okay, let's talk about this game you want to play. What does it contain? Do you feel, I don't feel this is really good for you, so let's look for an alternative. But again, this is a generalization. That appears to be few and far between. Usually people either go one route or the other route and avoid the middle ground as much as possible because it's easier.
It is easier. It is. Yeah.
And we don't want to turn this into a parental bitch fest. We have nothing but respect for people who raise children. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
We are the aunt and uncle of 4 beautiful children, and they are a handful to us.
But the whole point of all this is that video games are negatively affecting our children.
Right, and people see the negative more than the positive, so we are in this self-perpetuating spiral.
Yeah.
Now, let's actually talk about the problems involving children in video games.
Okay, let's just get into the nitty-gritty of all the problems and issues.
Yeah, let's get into it. So let's just get the obvious part out of the way, Teal. Okay.
So the obvious, children's minds are more impressionable than teens and adults.
Absolutely.
Okay. Children are learning. They're little sponges and everything comes in at them and they're taking it all in.
It's called the formative years for a reason.
Yeah.
And this is not an arguable fact. This is not something that Teal and I will debate with others. There have been countless scientific studies. I'll cite them in the descriptions if I have to, or in the comment section if people give us guff. The brains of children are far more susceptible to suggestion than adolescents or adults. That is a scientific fact. It is biological. It is completely biological.
Absolutely.
Children,
you have to.
They're supposed to be learning during this phase. They're supposed to learn for development, for survival, for social survival, physical survival, all these things. So all of these parts about the child psychology and the biology of the human brain during the child years of development simply come out to the line, children's minds are more impressionable.
Yep, they are.
And remember, video games are active. And it has also been shown time after time that active learning reinforces behavior far more than passive.
Boy, it sure does.
If you have a kid just watch a video on math, he's only going to learn, he or she's only going to learn a little piece.
Yeah.
If you have them watch and participate, like little Math Blaster games.
Oh, those Math Blaster games, yeah.
Or they're watching a video on math and at the same time you're working the problems with them. Active learning. If you're doing that, that's going to stick far more than just watching the math video.
Engagement.
Yeah.
It's all about the engagement. Yeah.
And because of that, that also translates over to video games. It's a proper assumption that video games, which are active, will influence children in their development and their behavior. So if a child is playing a game that is very violent, very sexualizing, and has no context to work with, nothing, no adult trying to explain things to them, no attempt to buffer, literally just murdering and horrible things, they're going to start to become desensitized to it.
They're going to desensitize. They're going to, it's just a normal thing. You know, they're going to view it as, oh, this is normal. This is what happens.
Right.
The thing is, though, they start acting out some stuff in real life.
They do because they see it there. Now just to, before we go any further, we're not going to go, video games cause bad things.
No.
That is an illogical leap.
Children do act out what they see because they're trying it out for themselves. It's, putting on a pair of shoes. Okay. Exactly. They're trying it out for themselves.
They are learning, and they're attempting to reinforce the learning within themselves by acting out what they saw. Yeah. So they can figure out this is how something is supposed to be done. But instead of it applying to something mathematical, to something scientific, to something philosophical, they're applying it to something negative. Yeah. And granted, let's flip the coin for a second. A very positive thing they learn from a video game, they may also do. Absolutely. Let's say they have a video game like where you're supposed to help people. Yeah. You know, like a Harvest Moon, where you take care of a town and, take care of their needs. That also can help the child positively reinforce something. Hey, if I help this person over here, it'll make them happy, and then we can be friends. Yeah. If this person over here is struggling with something, and I want to play with them, if I help them with what they're struggling with, then they'll be happy and we can play together. Yeah. So there's a positive side to this. But again, going back to what we talked about earlier, what is usually focused on? Oh, the negative. Of course, it's always the negative. Sadly. Yeah. So now that we've talked about children and the impressionability, let's address what Teal and I, when we talked about this topic, decided is one of the biggest issues of all. Yeah, and that's the age gap. It's the age gap in games. So noticeable. I mean, it is a huge leap from your what we call the Fisher-Price games. Right. To your typical action game. Yeah. That's available from GameStop. Yeah, exactly. So most games nowadays will either have some adult theme, whether it be a mild level theme or a heavy level theme, or like Teal said, the Fisher-Price games. There are also their user community defined games like Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite. Right. But those are not defined by the game. Those are defined by the community within them, which usually contains adults. Yep, they do. They've attempted to have community-based games for children only, and we're not going to get into how that turned into a nasty hotbed mess of evil people. Yeah, but just understand that the intention was good. But it did not work out. And that's just because there are horrible people out there. But let's go back to the age gap. Let's just go back. There are not a ton of games for a certain child age range, especially in the AAA community. It is very hard. I mean, once you get past your Nintendo, what have you got? Yeah. You literally don't have much anything else. Yeah, I mean, you got like your Lego games. Those are fun, like Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter. Those I would put in and I don't mean like the little kid range. I'm talking the 7 to 10 range. That's for me, that's tweens. Yeah. Tweens are going to play the Lego game. Yeah, well, I've played with my sister's son. I've actually played Lego Marvel Universe or whichever one that was, Lego Avengers. Right, Lego Avengers. We had a fantastic time. I think he was 9 years old when we played it, maybe 8, and he enjoyed it. Yeah. And we talked a bit about this, that, and that. And, there were certain movies that his mom, my sister, would not let him see, but there's ones that he could see Spider-Man Homecoming. Right. But she wouldn't let him watch, one of the other ones. And when they finally sat down a few years later and watched Infinity War, they had a conversation about what was happening, at the end with a snap. But that's an example of a very good parent. Most would just be like, here, don't. The point of that is we played Lego game and it was fun. It was obviously geared towards his age range. Skylanders, remember that game? I remember back at Skylanders, my godson was really into it. Oh, yeah. And there were a couple of Christmases and birthdays that's what I bought him, was the different Skylander toys. Oh, yes. To play the game with. Way too many.
But again, that's just one game. I mean, Disney came out with something, and that was it. I haven't seen anything else like that.
Right.
In the years since.
And you mentioned Nintendo. So let's talk about Nintendo. Nintendo has always been a very primarily family-friendly place.
Right. That's its
Mario
market.
games are very family-friendly. Yes. Are there levels of violence when he jumps on a turtle? Yes.
Sure, yeah.
But it's that cartoon violence, and it's ultra cartoony. You know, and maybe a little kid will get upset with Yoshi eating a Goomba mushroom. But for the most part, that's palatable.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog, mostly, is palatable. Nintendo is really one of the few companies out there to consistently capitalize on the metric of children between the ages of like 5 and 10. To where they make games that those children can play that are positive, that won't give all that negative stuff we've talked about.
Right.
But they'll still be able to really enjoy.
But that's pretty much it. And unless it's a Nintendo offering, you don't have much any other choice.
And let's talk about the parents. So a parent who does not have the education in this, I'm not saying uneducated, I mean in video games.
Right.
What are they going to get their kids? They're going to get their kids what the advertisements show. What other kids have. You know, Jimmy's mom and dad are friends with Billy's mom and dad. Well, Billy just got an Xbox and he got Call of Duty Black Ops. And okay, so he liked that. Okay, well, Christmas is coming up. We'll get that for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because if the parents don't know what options are out there, they're just going to get the easiest thing. Again, it's not laziness. It's our society has bred literally making decisions based off of other people's recommendations and what you see, or who has the most advertising dollars.
Yeah, and I got another anecdotal example. Excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat today. Some of my parent friends get onto Facebook, and they ask Space World, okay, here's my problem, blah blah blah. I don't know what to do. Video game. What do you guys think? What do you recommend? And crowdsourcing information is both good and bad.
Yes.
Because you're only going to get information from that little closed unit.
That echo chamber.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber. Yeah. So if the only people that respond are like, hey, Call of Duty is good. I play it with my son. It's awesome. Guess what you're going to get? You're
going to get Call of Duty. It's that simple. So, yeah, unfortunately, the children have to rely on their parents. And the parents have to rely on either their own research, which may or may not work depending on their sphere of searching, or their social groups, their communities, which, depending on how inclusive they are, may or may not give them the right information. All of this is just the way society is currently working. None of it is intentionally malicious. Yes, are there people out there who are going to give bad information because they're jerks? Absolutely.
Well, sure. You got jerks everywhere.
But 9 times out of 10, it's just our society has pushed itself into this. Get it out, get it quick, make it happen, move on.
Well, also, I want to point out that we talked about the labels.
Oh, yeah.
The video game labels. Okay, so you buy a game and you look at the label. What does it really mean? What is that label telling you?
Right.
If you don't really understand the label information, okay, it says cartoon violence. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
That's useless. It's almost useless if you don't understand the parameters of the label.
Right. I mean, just because, and again, it's going back to, when these parents were once children. Immature is like R-rated. Well, shit, I used to watch R-rated films when I was a kid and I'm fine.
Yeah.
That whole, I don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't understand all the science that's going into it. So they're going to look at a label. Well, all the games are immature.
Yeah, they're all like that, so they must not really be,
right?
Mature. So whatever.
As long as I don't get them an AO game, which is basically got sexual content,
right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or T for teen. Well, Jimmy's 11. That's close to being a teen.
Yeah, he's 12. He's 13. Okay,
right.
It's okay.
A teen. Not understanding that. So the lack of education on what any of that means and how all that influences.
Yeah.
It's just. It is literally a perfect crap storm.
Yeah,
and it's become that. And then let's go to the last part, peer pressure. Oh, man.
I talked about that earlier. And let me just tell you, the peer pressure is intense.
Oh, boy.
My nieces and nephews, they're at that age. It's really hitting. My niece is in middle school. My nephew is about to enter middle school.
Oh, yeah.
It is intense.
It really, really is.
She wouldn't wear, there was a certain button that she used to wear all the time.
Right.
I'm just going to say a smiley face button, whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was a button.
Piece of flair.
Yeah, piece of flair. And one or two of her friends made fun of it. She quit wearing it.
She did.
She just threw it in the back of the drawer and she never wore it again.
And that just goes back to child psychology, because children are far more impressionable at that age. They are going to be far more susceptible to the mores of peer pressure. It's
Absolutely.
just how they're hardwired.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And people want to continue to say, well, parental guidance this, or, well, teachers that. Well, no. It's the way that children brains are.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that as a society.
Yeah.
In order to fix the problem. Now, the haves and have-nots. Let's talk about that for a second. Because that is when you mentioned the Fortnite skins. Oh, yeah,
earlier.
I did.
I remember all those stories that were coming out.
Those horror stories of that kid who was bullied.
Yeah.
So, you have children over here who maybe their parents make extra money. Maybe their parents don't care what they spend money on. Who knows? Who all of a sudden get the latest, greatest game.
Yep.
The latest, greatest Fortnite skins. The best DLCs.
Yeah.
Oh, my parents give me $100 to spend on the microtransactions for my gym-based, whatever game.
Yeah.
Candy Crush.
God, Candy Crush.
Oh, wait, your parents don't let you do anything? You have to play the free version? Huh? It's just this ugliness that comes just from the concept of have or have not. And again, you can't really blame children themselves. It's the way their minds are wired. It's that have or have not mentality. But then the have nots, how do they feel?
Terrible. They feel absolutely terrible. And I want to also touch on another subject, that some of the toxic communities surrounding these games.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you could have the greatest intention in the world, and it's all the game is perfectly vetted. You go online, and wow,
oh yeah,
wow,
oh boy.
Hey, I'm sure you've heard all these. You've seen YouTube videos. Just the nastiness coming out of that 12-year-old boy's mouth.
It's just
wow.
Yeah, we had a joke with Noobmaster 69 from Avengers Endgame.
Sure.
The kid who was talking shit to Dad Bod Thor. But that joke, even though it was a hilarious moment in the movie, is based off of a reality. It is a reality that in these toxic societies, these toxic communities that these kids are thrown into because of whatever reason, you will have these young boys, these young girls, these tweens acting absolutely horrific. Well, that behavior had to have come from somewhere. Yeah. It came from either the community they were a part of already, the community they just joined and they adapted, or a lifetime of playing things unmonitored. Again, we're not telling people how to raise. But
the forums are there, and the children are getting into them, and it's influencing them.
So when you take all those,
all that
games, communities, a lack of awareness, and a developing brain, you have literally the perfect shitstorm. It is the perfect shitstorm. These pressures get applied to the parents, unfortunately.
Well, of course they do.
And these parents have no idea what is for the best. So it's like, okay, Jimmy's coming home crying every day. Yeah. Because he's getting bullied at school because he doesn't have the latest Call of Duty. Well, I guess I should get him the latest Call of Duty. Yeah. Instead of trying to figure the root of the problem, they just patch it. And again, not blaming parents, but that is how our society has taught people to deal with an issue. Yeah. Don't fix the issue, fix the symptom.
Right. And there's a whole lot of symptoms. That's what we see. And so that's what we tend, I say we as a collective, we tend to focus on that. Yes. And the remedies that we've tried so far, which we'll get into in a minute, it's like throwing darts at a dartboard.
It is.
And you hope you hit that bullseye.
You really do. Now, Teal, do you have an anecdote on your sister and the whole Call of Duty thing, or did you already tell that one?
No, I haven't told that story. Okay. I know we pick on Call of Duty. There's so many other games.
We do. We pick on it because it's easy. It's low-hanging fruit.
It's low-hanging fruit. And this happened a few years ago. Yeah. My nephew wanted Call of Duty. Right. His friends had it. He was keenly engaged in it. He goes hunting. He goes hunting and fishing with his dad. And, yes. And so this was right up his alley. An FPS. All right. Get in there and let's do this.
Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang, bang. And so she was she was considering, getting it. And thank goodness, she happened to ask me and Steele about it.
Yep.
And I mean, we just looked at each other. We're like, no. And we told her what all was in there.
Right.
And the themes and some of the graphics and the situations. And she's like, wow, this is completely unacceptable for my 9-year-old.
Yeah, 9 years old. 9 years old, he wanted to play this Call of Duty game. Now, we told Teal's sister, in a few years, if you want to examine it and ease him into FPSs, here's some others that he can play.
Right.
But, she decided, no, this is absolutely not appropriate for him. Not at this time. He threw a fit.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in the few years since then, because he's like 12 now.
He's 12 now, yeah.
She has had to take his video games away from him a few times because he has absolutely lost his temper.
Yes.
Absolutely. Threw tantrums all over the house.
But this was an example of someone who did not know and had to reach out to people who she knew.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that the video game industry is not it's become literally a, hey, play this.
Yeah.
This is this is what's new. This is what those marketing dollars go to. And,
let me tell you, those trailers are exciting.
They are very exciting.
They're very exciting for an active boy that likes to hunt and everything with his dad. I mean, it's exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, my sister's son, my nephew on my sister's side, loves knights and Vikings and stuff, and he was really excited about Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Absolutely.
And I had to tell my sister, wait a few more years.
Right.
Not ready. She knew, but it was still a moment where it was like the trailer got the boy excited about being a ninja Viking. So,
So yeah, the video game industry does a really poor job of keeping the children.
So
anyway,
yeah, well, it's because of how little that information is presented to parents. They're just shown the marketing, not the information.
Yeah,
and what information is given to them is not given to them in a way they can understand.
Right.
Especially for non-gamers. We are all gamers. If you're listening to this, you are almost assuredly a gamer or a game developer or both.
Right.
And you understand everything Teal and I have talked about. But let's take a step back and say, what if you're a non-gamer? What if you've never played video games? What if they have no interest in you whatsoever? If you don't care about video games? What if you're a non-gamer parent with a child who is a gamer? That's an issue, because then you don't know.
You don't know.
And that information is not presented in a way that you understand. You just see the hype, the marketing, and what little Jimmy wants.
So then you fall into the trap of, are you draconian or are you, okay, whatever.
Right. Or do you ask your echo chamber for advice? Do you turn to that one presumed reliable source, which would be like Facebook, which is not reliable? Then try to figure it out on your own. Again, this is not a knock against parents.
But it's hard.
It is.
To get information. But that just points to the real issue. The
real issue, which is the lack of information and understanding on how to access that information.
It's the lack of games for that age group.
And being able to make an informed decision. So now we're going to start talking about ways this could be solved. We got 3 that we're going to go over. Then Teal and I are going to give our individual recommendations, just thoughts.
Well, it's just thoughts.
But now is a good time for y'all to start getting your questions primed. So be sure to use that channel point icon and ask podcast questions. It's 50 points per question.
Just 50,
Which is 15 minutes of watching. So prime your questions now while we go over this. The first way that Teal and I agree together that this could be solved would be a better defined rating system.
Yeah. Just better defined, clearly explain what each of your little label icons mean. What does that mean?
Right. Instead of just saying cartoon violence, say violence that is presented in an over-the-top cartoonish manner. Yes, it's more words, or what is the difference between sexual themes and sexual content?
Yeah. And what is mature?
Right. What is mature?
What does that mean?
A sexual theme could be anything from the way Bayonetta dresses to a love scene in Mass Effect.
Right.
while sexual content is The Witcher 3, GTA 5.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying is explain that. Define it. Don't just slap a single letter on a game.
Mm-hmm.
Give more information. Put it on the back of the box. Something. There has to be some way to say, hey, parents, before you buy this game, here's what's in this game.
Right.
And then the parent can go, okay, I don't want my child to play this, or it's all right.
Yeah.
So give that. We also would like to see more. Now, this is going to get a little political.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
legislation.
Yeah, legislation
that forces these labels to be applied, because the ESRB is not a governmental body.
It has absolutely no bite to its bark
at all. It's completely ineffective, just like the Motion Picture Association.
Yeah.
Yes. Do games have a advantage to going through the ESRB and getting a label on them? Yes.
Sure.
Is it required?
No.
No game is required to get a rating.
Mm-mm.
Just like no movie is required to get a rating.
Yeah.
Not rated in R.
Right.
That was a thing. You got the same concept here for the ESRB.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to see, on not just in the U.S., but across the board, more legislation that forces it so that it's information. And maybe get rid of the ratings and just have info.
I would actually prefer that. Forget the rating stuff. Just put the information in there. What is the content? Is there smoking? Is there sexual scenes?
Mm-hmm.
Is there misogyny? Is there a rape scene or suicide?
Right.
We need content. We need to know what's in that game.
Yes, and if the
it's not mystery meat.
Right, and if governments force that, not force the games on what they can and cannot put in, but force the games to disclose.
Just disclose what's in it.
Then that will allow that first idea of a better rating system and that education and information that parents need to be more accessible, because then a parent can look at a game and say, I know exactly what I'm getting into. Do I buy this for my child or not?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And then the last one is, it kind of ties in, is parental education.
Yeah, what make that easily accessible for a parent to do some research.
Yeah.
What do the labels mean? Mm-hmm. What does that content mean?
Yeah.
Cite examples, please.
Yes, cite examples.
Where's a reliable forum for a parent to go to find this stuff out?
Yep.
Because goodness knows we don't have time to go scratching, crawling all over the internet trying to find out information.
Oh yeah. So those are the three that Teal and I immediately discussed, like when we were talking about this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's list these. But then we decided to go and kind of do our own searching inside, our own soul searching as to what we would like to see. So this is that last call to get those podcast questions out.
That's right.
And Teal, why don't you go first?
Okay.
What you really feel strong about.
My big thing is I want to see, and I've said this a couple of times,
right.
I want to see more games that target that age range.
Yes.
That target the tweens, that is appropriate for that age range, that has positive interactions and positive themes. Okay. Because I don't see too much of that. I see Nintendo and, we talked about Lego and there's a couple other things too. But for the most part, there's a dearth of it. You jump right into the more adult games, RPGs and that have all kinds of things in them.
Agreed.
And, first-person shooters, online games, community-driven games, and it's all targeted to adults.
Agreed.
Yeah.
If you have games that are specifically targeted to late children, early tweens, give games that are 4 to 6. 7 to 10, 10 to 12, or whatever, those kind of things.
Just something divided up, but there needs to be more offerings.
There does.
Seriously, there needs to be more offerings.
Because I guarantee you, a 9-year-old is going to be completely disinterested in a game for a 5 or 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
But a 12-year-old is going to be disinterested in a game for a 9-year-old.
And for goodness sakes, let's make the games interesting, okay?
Yeah.
Heavens.
Well, that whole Skylander property was amazing.
It was amazing, actually.
And maybe you do it so that they don't have to buy extra hardware.
Yeah.
So they don't have to buy the little icons. They just, can, whatever, they get their little characters. But, the Lego games.
Yeah.
The Lego games, again, I want to go back to that. That is amazing for kids in a certain age group. I love it.
Yeah.
Why do we not have more of that? Why is Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
the only company that focuses primarily on that demographic?
Yeah.
So I agree completely with that, Teal.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is going to go a little bit to what we talked about a few minutes ago. I want to see communities specifically geared towards this. And I don't mean some little community hidden on Reddit.
Right.
I mean full scale. Like, I would love to see a, parentgaming.gov or something. Like a place where, and it's regulated by people who know what they're talking about, whether it be governmental entities, industry entities, that specifically are there for parents to get information and talk to other parents.
Yes.
Communities are so important. Mm-hmm. And nowadays with social media, as Teal said, which is the big internet's thing, it is the way that we are connected throughout the world.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we can't have that. But people don't know where to find these forums or these communities.
No.
They go to Facebook and maybe they find something.
Maybe.
They go to Reddit if they even know what Reddit is, and maybe they find something.
Yeah.
Let's have a place where they can go, a place that is broadcasted out, for every country, for every language, where they can go and talk to other parents. And those parents can go, I played this game with my kid and it wasn't as bad as the box made it came out to be, or as the ratings say, or as the critics say. But I played this game over here and it was horrible. Within 5 minutes, we were stomping some person's head into the ground. Yeah. There's those kind of things that I would love to see communities be a lot stronger in. Yep.
I do too.
And I think every community has a responsibility to educate the people around it about the content of their games.
I think so too.
That includes the communities we're part of, like the RPG Maker community and the Unreal community. If a game comes out for one of those communities that has content that is potentially negative to a child, it should say it. Yeah. And the people in that community should enforce that dev that they say it. This game deals with, fortunately, both the RPG Maker and Unreal community do this, but
they do this
game deals with suicide. This game has scenes of sexual assault. Most devs in the two communities we're part of do that. Yes. But it needs to be enforced across the board with every game development community. Steam is the big offender.
Oh, gosh.
There is shit on Steam that straight up does not need to be there without warning labels. Yeah. And it needs to be better. And you can't rely on the Sentinels of the Steam store. That's a fantastic group of people, but they're a small group. Valve needs to get involved.
Yeah, Valve needs to get involved.
So that's our things. Okay, let's go ahead. We have a question here from Wrath of Wood. Okay. At what point should an indie dev get an ESRB rating, and how? Let's answer that question with the assumption that ESRB is all we have to go with at this time. Okay.
Sure, that's a good, valid.
All games that have gone gold and are about to be published should get an ESRB rating. They really should. Yeah. Will they nowadays, unless it's AAA? Probably not. Indie devs can just release their game on Steam, which is what we just talked about. Right. And no one's going to stop them, and they have to tag their game themselves. Yeah. So what we would like to see, to kind of go into the other part of this answer for me, I want to see Steam or whatever platform they're on have a review board like the ESRB. So instead of the ESRB, it's the Steam SRB, where they'll review the game. They have people they pay specifically to review the game. And they say, okay, so this game has sexual content. This game has graphic violence. This game is very family friendly. This game is this game is that. And they put it on there, and the dev can't do anything about it. The tag, they can appeal through an appeal process, but the tag that Steam, for example, puts on a game sticks. And that should be applied, again, across the board. Do you have anything to add to that as far as the ESRB goes, Teal?
Well, I haven't actually researched the process for submitting your work to the ESRB. So, fortunately, I cannot answer that part of your question. But the other part of your question, yes, to me, if you voluntarily comply and attempt to either get some kind of rating or put notices of the type of content, I think that you're being a very responsible developer.
Agreed.
And to me, I trust you more than I trust someone who doesn't do that.
Brilliant.
And so I'm going to purchase your game. And if it's appropriate, I will let my niece and nephew play your game.
Brilliant observation there, Teal. Brilliant. I agree completely. Any game developer that's going to put their game out, any indie game developer, should highly consider going through the steps of getting the ESRB rating on their game, especially if their game is going to be distributed on a platform that children could have access to, like Steam. Now, granted, I do want to see the platform have a way of rating things, but I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I agree. I would trust a game that has an ESRB rating that took those steps, even if it cost time and money, to get a rating much more than I would one that doesn't, if I was going to recommend it for my nieces or nephews.
Right. Because, we're talking about children here.
We're talking about children.
Yeah.
If anyone else has another question, we got time for a few more. Please use the channel points. Click on podcast question, just costs 50 channel points, and ask away.
Yeah.
Because we're getting near the end. I really want to see more personal responsibility on the part of indie devs.
Yes, I do.
I really do. I don't think that indie devs are irresponsible people that are out to harm children, not even for a moment.
Right. But, most devs develop for adults.
They do.
That's just the market.
They do.
But I would love to see some of our indie devs develop a game that's for children or tweens.
Yeah.
And some of the games that we reviewed, I think, are appropriate for tweens. Absolutely. And, that's something that you could, as an indie developer, market. My game is appropriate for tweens because I have these positive things in here and I don't have these negative things.
Exactly. And let's go one more step and say that it is not enough to say it in your description blurb on your Steam page. That is not enough. That is not enough for you to say, my game, the High Llama's adventures. Mm-hmm. It is not enough to say description, blah, blah, blah. The High Llama goes on this adventure to do this, this, and this. And then a few paragraphs later, this game has blank, 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 and blank. That's not enough.
Too long, didn't read.
Right. No one's going to read it, and you don't have the right to say, well, they didn't read it and they were exposed to something harmful. Tee-hee. No, that is as irresponsible to you as a developer as it is to the people who did not monitor whether or not their child should play that game.
Right.
Everyone is responsible for their content and for who plays their content.
Yeah.
So the developer, you're responsible as to what people know about your content. Does your game have sex? Does your game have violence? Does your game just have fluffy happies? You're responsible for that, developers. Parents, you're responsible to figure that out, to read it, to have that information and make a decision. Everyone's responsible, and because the children can't be. They're kids. All right, we have another question here from AOD.
Another question. Yeah. Okay,
thanks, AOD. Okay, so how do you think the community can help parents become more aware of the market and become more savvy to its tendencies, both good and bad, like microtransactions, content, dishonest marketing? That is a
That's a good question. That points back to something that Steele said is have a community that's a forum that's built around this very thing.
Yes.
And advertise this forum, push it everywhere, Parents Magazine, parents.com.
Right.
Make people aware of this forum specifically to help parents understand this stuff.
Right. And if AOD is specifically talking about the developer community, we can do our part and be a part of those forums.
Absolutely.
We can also create our own forums. There is nothing stopping. Let's talk about the RPG Maker community.
Sure.
There is nothing stopping members of the RPG Maker community from creating a group that raises awareness of RPG Maker games and their content.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping us from having our version of a Sentinels of the Steam store.
True.
Where we go around and we say, hey, look, we've noticed this game here has a lot of sexual content, a lot of violence, but there's no warning whatsoever. Let's contact this dev. If this dev tells us to F off, fine. Let's just raise awareness. Not troll, not attack.
No, that's not the point
but
of
raise
it. No.
awareness. So the community has to be able to police. Developer communities have to be able to police themselves. until such tools are in place that police us. And again, it's not about disabling people. It's not about chasing people. It's not a witch hunt. It's literally raising awareness. If a developer's game has sexual content and other people in their community tells everyone, hey, just so you know, this game has sexual content, and that developer loses their shit and gets angry because it quote unquote is damaging sales or whatever, then that developer needs to examine what kind of person they are. I, as a developer, would not want my game to be misrepresented.
No,
if
not
my
at
game
all.
has sex, say it has sex.
Yeah.
My game has violence, say it has violence. Because again, it is the developer's responsibility to make the information about the content of their game available so that people can make informed purchasing decisions.
And I'm all about the informed decision making.
Absolutely.
Okay.
150%.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any other questions, we have time for one more.
Yeah.
This is one of those type of topics, Teal, that people need to continue talking well after this podcast.
Absolutely. And I would love to see more discussions and, other podcasts pick up this topic and let's roll with it, because this is all about raising awareness. And I really want to see some positive change go on. Because honestly, I don't like the choices that these tweensies, these kids are having.
Right.
These are not good choices.
We want to see members of the communities we're part of. We want to see people like Sid Alpha talk about this. We want to see the Sentinels of the Store write articles on this. Yeah. We want to see streamers like Drifty from Driftwood Gaming and Hawk Zombie talk about this. We want to see some random dude talk about this. We want to see... heck, we would love to see RPG Maker Forum, the web, RPG Maker Web, release information about this. Heck, RPG Maker Cola, the podcast that we were on, they should talk about it. This is a topic everyone should be talking about, but not enough people are. And I understand people not wanting to get into the, this is how you should parent your children. We're not talking about that.
No, we're not. No.
We're literally talking about people need to talk about the awareness issues and how to raise the awareness so, again, people can make informed decisions.
Good informed decisions, yes.
Absolutely. And this is one of those hills that we, Studio Blue, will die on. We always believe that proper informing prevents bad decisions.
Yeah.
The more you know. The more you know.
The more you know.
The better. All right, so I don't think we have any more questions, and that's fine. That's fine. We had two fantastic questions.
We had very
from our
good
community.
questions, yeah.
Yeah, thank you everyone who was watching this live. We love doing this. The revival of this podcast has been a lot of fun.
It has, and this is a great time slot. Just sit back and drink my cocoa, and
I get to have some coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to continue doing this. It is every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. That's right. On Wednesdays, freezing temperatures notwithstanding, our supporters, Patreon and Twitch, will get first dibs on this particular episode.
Podcast, right.
And then the Saturday, the following Saturday, the general public. So if you missed this one live, you will get it on VOD next Saturday.
Right.
So this has been a lot of fun, and we appreciate everyone who has been watching us.
Yes.
All right. So join us next time on DLC Not Included. And remember,
anyone can give you the key, but you have to go through the door.